Everyone must have heard of the detective Sherlock Holmes. But Sherlock Holmes's sister is very little known. She is Enola Holmes. Since a young age, she was not like other girls. Other girls learned to play the piano, sew, or fire. She learned about chemistry experiments, archery, sword fighting. But on the day she turned 16 years old, a strange thing happened. Enola opened her eyes, and did not see her mother. She discovered the box left by her grandmother. Inside were countless pens and cards, seemingly to imply something. Her two older brothers are also coming back from London to take care of her. Her big brother, Mycroft Holmes, is a diplomat. Sherlock Holmes is a famous detective. Enola stood at the train station to pick them up, but neither of them recognized her. She quickly called two people. Mycroft and Sherlock looked at her now. Recognizing her sister, Mycroft immediately disparages her. Messy hair, messy clothes and no hat and gloves. Enola now understands why Mom doesn't let them live together. When they got there, the two brothers looked at the messy house, and were very dissatisfied. Mycroft begins to plan for Enola to learn etiquette, making Enola become a real English girl. The next day, Mycroft invited a professor to his home, who was in charge of teaching Enola the manners of nobles. To Enola, these rules are really bullshit. Although she objected, Mycroft still forced her to obey. She angrily returned to her room, throwing the pens left by her mother. Accidentally, she discovered inside a piece of paper with messy texts. Enola is aware that this is a word game she and her mother used to play when they were children. She took the bag containing the letters, and put them together into a complete sentence. It said that Enola look in my chrysanthemums. She rushed to the living room to find a vase. But there are no chrysanthemums inside. She looked around the room, and found a painting of chrysanthemums. There is an envelope behind the photo frame. Inside was some money, and the letter her mother left for her. The letter says, Enola has two paths to choose. The path she chooses herself or someone else chooses for her. Enola understood, if she continued to stay here, she would have to obey her brother. The only way to get out of here is to find her mother's whereabouts. She wore men's clothes, then left her bicycle on the side of the road. She created a fake escape scene, and got on the train back to London. As soon as she got on the train, a guy fell and scared her. This guy is Tewkesbury, ran away from home like her. Seeing Tewkesbury elegantly dressed, she left with suspicion. As soon as she got out of the carriage, she heard a cry from behind. She turned to see a man strangling Tewkesbury. She saves him, then jumps out of the train to escape. Enola missed the train to London to find her mother, so she was very upset. The two of them walked a long way, hoping to find a place to stay. This rich guy has really good survival skills. He took Enola to find food and water. Two friends make their way to far London. Arriving in London, the two had to separate from here. Enola knows her time is limited. Her opponent is the famous detective Sherlock Holmes. As soon as she is discovered, she will definitely be sent home to lock her up. She quickly posted the news on her mother's secret language newspapers. At night, she continued to study the clues left by her mother. Finally, a few days later, she received a reply. Following her instructions, she went to the front door of the library to wait for her. But the ones waiting for her are her brothers, Mycroft and Sherlock. Turns out, Sherlock has deciphered Enola's code, then imitated her tone in response. She was sent to a girls' school by her brother Mycroft, to learn the manners of the nobility. She doesn't want to be here, she's mad at her brother Sherlock. But Sherlock asked her if she knew why she lost to him. She already has the qualities of a detective, but she lacks confidence. So she had no faith in her speculation. Today he came to take her out of here, and tell her the decision is always in her hands. No matter what society demands, it can't control her. Once she was released, she hurriedly continued to learn according to her mother's instructions. She discovered her grandmother instructing her to find the missing Marquis. She infiltrated the Marquis house, and asked about his whereabouts, knowing that this Marquis usually stays alone in the forest. She entered the forest. She discovered a mysterious tree house. She climbed the tree, and was surprised to find that this Marquis is the young Tewkesbury. Not fully understanding what happened, a voice called her back. This gray-haired old woman is Tewkesbury's grandmother. She chats with Enola about Tewkesbury's past. He is working on a draft on women's suffrage. The key vote is in the hands of Tewksbury. She started to follow the route they broke up to look for him. Finally, she found Tewksbury working as a florist here. The two of them returned to the place where Tewksbury was living temporarily. The assassin found the two of them. Enola quickly knocked him down. The two quickly fled back to Tewksbury's house. They sneaked into the Duke's palace at midnight. As soon as they entered, someone opened fire on them. Enola hid in the dark fighting with the assassin. A kick knocked the gun out of his hand. Behind, someone walked up. It's Tewksbury's grandmother. But she opened fire on Tewksbury. On election day, conservatives filled the seats. But Tewksbury was dead, but here he is again. Turns out that night, he was wearing a bulletproof vest, so he escaped death. The person behind the assassin looking for him is his grandmother. She is the head of the conservative faction. They think women should stay at home and take care of their children. And Enola's mother is the leader of an equal rights group for women, leaving home and secretly instructing Enola to help Tewksbury. Her mother wanted her to help him agree on the draft of women's suffrage. The people in the city of London knew for the first time that, besides the famous detective Sherlock Holmes, they also have another female detective, Enola Holmes.